artifacts scattered in the eastern and southeastern part of the Ahmedabad, and mostly reported as a stray finding. Some sculpture here and there, some temple pieces, and it is along the Sabarmati also, and just on the tributary of Sabarmati. That way, we don't know actually the settlement type of that period, but there are still some mounds on either bank of the Sabarmati, which can actually establish the antiquity firmly. That is yet to be researched actually. And then we have got the treasure trove of Bhadra, and then so many other places which establish that there were settlements and some religious structure on the Sabarmati bank. Next please. And this is the only structure available which goes to pre-Sultanate phase. That is in Asarwa and known as Mata Bhavani temple. It is on the style of Solanki architecture, and you can see now it is a worship place. So this is a protected, centrally protected monument, but in spite of the act and law, you can't do and you cannot regulate. It is actually only the management of this such structure they can do or improve upon. Next please. These are actually from the Sarkej. Sarkej we found this in 2007, a treasure trove, and this is from a site on the right side of that Rajkot road, and it is actually around late 13th century sculpture, belongs to the Jain temple. So it means so many activities are going around this area, and so many settlements are there. There seems to be small villages, and further Ahmedabad is on the major route from north to south and towards Cambay also. That way the region actually this was a very suitable place that the later ruler thought of laying their capital on the bank of Sabarmati. Next. And this is the actually after the Solanki dynasty they ruled for there was the 450 years Khilji governors, then the independent Sultan of Gujarat, and ultimately Mughal governor in Suriname till 1758. And as you know that Ahmedabad was established founded by Ahmad Shah in 1814-11, and then actually he started building the city, and it is presumed that only a small part around Bhadra was completed by the Ahmad Shah, and the later thing went on aided during the till the Muhammad Begda period. And Muhammad Begda was the real actually person who actually completed the city and put so many gates and nothing. And in between Ahmad Shah and Muhammad Begda, this Karkaria and other large river aided to city. And it is actually about 10 kilometers in circuit, where Merathi Ahmadi mentioned there 12 gates, 139,000. I think there are so many experts who knows better than me. Next please. And this is actually how actually this Gujarati style evolved. This is very unique. Because contemporarily there were so many provincial rulers like Jaunpur, this Malwa, then you have got Delhi was the main center, you have in Punjab. So and they actually evolved their own style of architecture. We call it a provincial style, but Gujarat seems to be continuity of the earlier tradition, and it is very unique. You will not find that much difference in the pre-Islamic and Islamic architecture. Only here, because the tradition was there for so many centuries, and the artisans were actually not knowing how to make the bigger space. Because the new ruler brought a new system of prayer, worship, and they wanted a big hall, a open courtyard, and at the end of it, a small prayer hall with space. Because it is not a personal, it is congregational worship. So that is a difference, and that's why it requires a different architecture. But the traditional artisan were not actually used to such building. That's why the architecture of Gujarat of this period, it is essentially tribute, except the facade. On the facade you have got a big arch, and inside you have got the mihrab and the mimbar on the back wall. That is the only difference. Otherwise, they are making use of pillar. Just at that I will touch later on. This is the recent finding at Bhadra. We have got one inscription dated to 1356 AD, somewhat. That is used as in the foundation and seems to be part of a hero stone, a pallier. And then it is here, this one. This is the foundation of the newly found structure and of the Bhadra. Next. Thank you. And you can see that Dr. Doshi has shown this. This is the structure coming up here. They have demolished the POD quarter here. This one. And this is exactly at the same distance. There is another structure here, the temple wall. And there is a symmetry. It is following a symmetry exactly. And the entrance is from outside, not this side. What would have been the use of this structure, it is very difficult to say, but seems to be some guard room sort of thing. And it is actually raised on the arched foundation. It was actually done in most of the coast where you have got all sand deposit under it. Then even the Taj Mahal was raised on the well foundation. Similarly, they did here. We have got one arch this side, there is this side also, that side also. So many arches they have, and then consolidated it. And this is the two layers of architecture. That main Sultanate period fort, and then this Azam Khan Sarai or the Azam Khan fort. You can see how it is actually changed. That during the Mughal period they are using more and more brick and plaster and making more elegant structure, and this is a traditional with all these brackets and this lintels and things, and then only this arch makes a difference, that it gives some impression this is a Muslim structure. Then these are the other findings actually from that excavation. And you can see this is a royal enclosure, but still majority of the people are using such utensils. These are the all, you can say, the deluxe here of the ware of the time. Plates, leads, and so many vessels which are still here used. This is all 15th century, 17th century utensils. Most of the found from the mother itself. Next week.
So recently you found this?
Recently. And then these are the structures. There are some 47 monuments in Ahmedabad under protection. Some of them are under the central government, some of them under the state government, and including this Sarkhe Roja. There are 54 structures. And then I was talking about the elements. These are the old elements, traditional. You can see the ceiling of this dome, and then see the pillars. All the old tradition, how they are actually making it vertically high, putting double tier of pillar, and then this Janan Khan. This is another innovation in Gujarat. It is not found anywhere in India, in other states. And the jali, during this period, the artisan got the liberty of sewing this, throw this actually in the LFA, as we have seen in Rantibao and in other structures. You have got jali or such pattern, but they are all blunt because they are actually on the wall. You cannot see through. But here they got this architecture is such, actually you can make it through. That actually involves so many things in Jali work, and finally we have got this Siddhi Jali and such. And then you have got the entrance mandapa even in the mosque, and then actually this Chandrasila, and see these elements. There it could have been a Kirtimukh in case of the temple. Here it is again a plain model they have given. That is how actually it is evolving and how they are incorporating the old tradition in the new architecture, new demand. Next please. And this is actually the another thing, example, this is the earliest mosque of Ahmedabad, Ahmad Shah, and this is the farthest actually culmination of the mosque architecture at Chapani. This was done by the Muhammad Bekra. And there you can see they have raised this facade to provide light inside. And that was done because of this well. In our actually tradition, we have got the step well, and at the end we have got the well, and before that there is a kund. And around that kund, we have got these galleries where you can actually see the water below. So that was actually incorporated in the this
Thank you.
mosque
Thank you very much.
to make slightly elevated with the help of these pillars, and so that water is this light is entering inside the structure. Here in this Ahmad Shah, you have got only one tier of that opening. Here in Japanese we have got double actually, two tiers to provide more light. These are the elements how actually they are taken from the traditional architecture. Next please. And this you can see these are the around 15th century AD. There is a lot of building activity by Muhammad Bekra and his successor. And then these were the minarets in the center of the central facade of the mosque. Later on, later on these minarets actually put on the corner. That is one development in the final phase of this architecture, like this Usman Pura. And they become more and more decorative. Earlier also it was decorative, but it is become so slender and so intricate carved. This is the Gadi Setri Mosque and that is Usman Pura. Next please. And then you see this is the actually Sardar Khan tomb, one of the most imposed upon structure. Now it is very difficult to go inside, and all around just within 10 meters it is now encased by the high-rise building. So this is the happening in spite of the act of road. It is very difficult because till the people who are actually owner of the thing, they change and they make a mind to actually clear this thing. It is not going to happen. And this is similar with that mosque in our Pir Tripolia gate behind the Jama Masjid. Now they have covered this whole mosque in the front side. You cannot make out anything. So it is very difficult to be had actually approach to them, try to actually do this, but it is required. That's why and then some alternative is given to them by some people like you, architect, then only actually this problem can be solved. Next please. And these are the how it is landscape is changing in Sarkhe, then Rani Rukmati, and in Kakatiya. These are the few how our act cannot stop it. It is only society can do something for their monuments. Next please. And these are the late phase, final phase of the structure in Ahmedabad before the colonial period. This is colonial Dutch stone, then we have got a Pachkua of machine rock by a businessman, Raghunath Das, who built this for the travelers. And this is the situation at the gate, the entrance gate, all the vendors are.
That is the Dutch one there?
That is the Dutch one. Yes. Recently we have done some work with the help of the Dutch business group in Ahmedabad. Next please. And these were the registered measures by the government since actually 1810. We have got regulation, we have got rule, and they actually are revised at time to time. And then finally in 1861 ESA was established, and next week. And this Indian Treasure Trove Act came in 1878. This is about the treasure found during the excavation or a chance discovery, how actually you have to report to the concerned authority that something is found there. Then there are actually procedure to acquire it and so on. But we come to know when the treasure has already gone from one place to another. Then only we come to know that it happens actually. Then we have got the Monument Remains Act of 1958. That is about the encroachment. That is prohibited area, regulated area, what is allowed, what is not allowed, what are the penalties. That all, everything is included in that. It covers everything. And this Art Treasure Act, it is about the registration of antiquity. If you have got you feel that you have got some antique piece which is actually 100-year old, or a painting of some notified actually painters like Rabindranath Tagore and 4 or 5 painters are there which are actually notified, their painting will not be taken outside India. So, and in that case it is only 75 years and rest of the thing 100 years. That it is your duty to register it with the registration officer, and it is actually in Baroda, and then we were doing it, and now the central government itself has taken over. And then once you register it, you can trade it within the country, but not outside the country. And if it is lost, police may recover it because it is registered. But once it is, if you don't register and it is lost, it is difficult to recover. These are the actually benefit of such thing. And this is a recent one. Ancient Monument Archaeological Site and Remains Act, where actually that limit of 100 and 300 meter has been incorporated in the body of the Act. Now actually you cannot do anything within the 100 meter of a limit of the monument from the protected area of the monument. And then we have got the State Act. This is the similar on the basis of the 1958 Act. So these are the two type of monument, centrally protected and state protected. Next, please. This is actually protected area means any archaeological site and remain which is declared to be of national, state importance by or under central or state act. And now what is happening in most of the cases, this area is actually not defined. Our most of the monuments were declared protected in the British period. And now because of this new act, it is very difficult to give the actual limit because the land was never transferred to ESL. So that is creating a big problem actually for ESL monument at present. And unless actually ESL do some re-notification, otherwise all the monument will be again encroached by the big buildings.
So that means they can buy it or they can demolish it?
Because the limit, the 100 meter limit will go to the monument, from the limit of the monument. At present actually there are monuments with some land, open land around, and we take that limit as a protection limit. But there is no notification for that.
That is only within that 100 meters.
100 meters.
Configuration,
Yeah.
right?
And then this is the every area within from the limit of the that 100 meter, and this is the regulated beyond that again 200 meter. And then actually in some cases we get application from the builders, and they find a central place and put a circle around 100 meter. But that is not the case. Actually the 100 meter will be going a parallel line all in all direction. So this happens actually, and that is we have to see. That's why I have just gone. So I think this is like. Thank you. This is my.
Thank you. Wonderful.